Hello guys, this is Octavius with North American Archery. Happy Independence Day. It's such a blessed day and I'm so proud to be an American and to live in this country. So thank you for celebrating with me by coming to our channel and watching this video. So today what I want to talk to you about is high poundage bows versus low poundage bows, or low poundage bows versus a high poundage bow. Now, the reason why I'm filming this inside my house is because it's so hot outside that the camera kept shutting off. And I couldn't get it to stop. So now I'm inside down here in the basement. And so here's the thing. This has been a debate for many years. I first started hearing about it about 10 years ago. There used to be a rule of thumb that you wanted 50 pounds and up to go hunting. And then anything under that was considered a low poundage bow. Okay? And you did whatever else. You could go out in the backyard and hit pop cans. You can go to 3D range. You can go do whatever you want. You can teach somebody how to shoot. But if you wanted to go hunting, typically everyone would say 50 pounds, 55, 60, whatever. You need to go out and do that. Some guys even went out with a 70-pound longbow, ASL longbow, you know. So the thing is that whether you're going out with a 70-pound ASL longbow or you're going with a little bow that's 35 pounds, you have to ask yourself some questions to make sure you're doing what's right for you and not getting caught up with all the debating going on in the traditional archery community. The number one thing you should ask yourself is your ego in check? Are you shooting a low poundage bow so that you can just prove to everybody else that you are that much better of an archer? Or are you shooting a low poundage bow because you enjoy shooting that poundage? Okay? And you are very efficient at harvesting your animals with the right arrow setup, and you're teaching those around you how to do the same. I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with somebody going around just blabbing about how great they are with a 35-pound bow. Okay? On the flip side of that, I'm also not okay with somebody saying, hey, if you're shooting a little baby 35, 40-pound bow, you're not a man. You're not somebody that is an actual hunter. You're not somebody that actually can get it done. You don't know what you're doing, kid. Both of those are extremes, but they're happening sometimes in certain conversations within the traditional archery community. If you're really good at shooting your setup, whatever poundage it is, your job and my job is to teach others how to do the same. When we try to elevate ourselves above everybody else, that's ego, that's pride, and that is not walking in humility. So whether you are having ego with your friends, your buddies, and people want to get into traditional archery from compound or whatever, or you're having ego situations with yourself trying to be overbowed or underbowed just so you can prove something to yourself. You just need to do what's best for you. For me, this is a 60-pound bow. I usually shoot anywhere from 60 to 70 pounds when I go hunting, end of story, done it for years. However, I have the practice, I have the technique, I don't hold long, and I'm young, okay? I'm not in my 70s and 80s. As we get older, we're going to have to go down in poundage, most likely, because we're doing that over and over again for 40, 50 years. It's going to start wearing on the body a little bit. I say that when you have the proper technique, you won't have to do it as quick, because I do know people in their 70s, 80s, and they still shoot higher poundage bows. Okay? Fred Bear did it until he was 88 years old. So you can do that, okay? However, on the whole average, most guys, as they get older, and gals, are going to have to go low in poundage. So the argument is, let's go do it now and not wait. You do what's best for you and don't get caught up in the static. Number two, speed. The difference between the two is speed, and it's very important. You can get 200 feet per second out of a higher poundage bow with a 10 grain per inch arrow setup. If you try to get a 10 grain per inch on a low poundage bow, you'd be very fortunate to get 120 to 130 feet per second. How do I know this? Because I have bows that are 35 pounds. I've hunted with bows with 35 pounds. It's just not something I do regularly because I'm used to shooting bows that are higher poundage. But when you give up the speed, you give up something else. Number 3, kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is when you shoot your arrow, it hits what you're looking at, and that's the impact. That measures the impact or the penetration power that's apparent, that's there, that's present upon entering that animal, entering that target. So that kinetic energy is going to be a lot lower when you go to a lower poundage bow. A high poundage bow has more kinetic energy. But when you go out and you get arrow setups that are very efficient and tuned to that bow, you can still be effective with a 35-pound bow, but you're never going to achieve the kinetic energy you're going to have with a 65, 70-pound bow. Okay? You need to understand that no matter what people tell you, there's always a give or take depending on which route you take. Number 4, penetration. Penetration, I've already alluded to. Penetration is important. You want an arrow with high FOC. FOC means front of center. And so you want a 30% FOC arrow. You want to make sure that most of your weight's in the front. You want that weight to pull your arrow through the air towards what you're looking at. And you want that arrow to fly straight when you bare shaft tune it. However, you're never going to have the penetration of a higher poundage bow if you go to a lower poundage bow. Okay? But there's people out here thinking that there's not that much of a dropout, and there is. Trust me, okay? So you need to figure out what your goals are. If your goals are just to go 3D shooting and go deer hunting, you can go with a 35-pound bow. But you just need to understand what your arrow setup's going to be, and you're going to have to watch videos like this, as well as go into other people's channels as well to figure out, or go to a coach, or go to somebody that's hunted for many years with a low poundage bow. Typically they're older guys that have the knowledge to teach you how to do that. Don't just think that you're going to grab a bow, get the arrows from Bass Pro Shop, and think you're going to go start harvesting animals. You're not going to be able to do that with a 35-pound bow. You're going to have to set it up correctly. You see, years ago, what guys used to do with a higher poundage bow, I know this from my grandpa and my uncles, they used to get the bow out of the catalog, whether it's, let's say, a Bear Magnum recurve or whatever they might have ordered, a Kodiak takedown, and whatever the arrows were that was in the catalog, they would order those, cut them to length, and go hunting with it. They didn't really worry about tuning arrows back then. They went with the arrow spine that matched the bow. But typically they were always around 10 grains per inch, right? There was no such thing as going hunting with a lower poundage bow typically, okay? And so you need to understand that most of the traditional archery history is shooting a higher poundage bow. So that's why there's a stigma with that, okay? So when you go to a lower poundage bow, traditional archery community is just now starting to support that. But there's still a lot of information you need to gather, so you're going to have to go to Three River Archery if you're local like me, or you're going to have to call them and say, I'm shooting a 35-pound bow, my draw length is 27.5 inches, and I'm trying to get 10 grains per inch. Or can I get 8 grains per inch? Or whatever it is, but I want to make sure this arrow is going to fly true. You need more intel if you're going to shoot a low poundage bow. A low poundage bow has very little room for error. You have to make sure it's dialed in correctly in order to maximize what it can do. Number 5 is health. If your health is not doing well, as far as shoulder pain, rotator cuff, back issues, your fingers are cramping up, you have arthritis, any of those things, a low poundage bow is going to be better for you, okay, period. You don't want to go to a higher poundage bow. But if you're young, healthy, and strong, or if you're old, healthy, and strong, an older person, you can definitely get away with shooting a bow over 50 pounds. You just have to have the proper technique, you have to have the proper mechanics, and you have to practice knowing that you're not trying to destroy your body. Okay, so you need to also look at health as well, depending on what you want to decide. Number 6 is shooting. when you shoot a traditional bow, it's important that you understand that they all shoot differently. You're going to have a little bit more hand shock if you don't tune your arrows to your bow. Okay, you're going to have a lot of vibration. You're going to pluck the string and see your arrow go all wonky with a lower poundage bow. Versus if you go to a higher poundage bow, if you pluck the string, you don't really see it as much, right? Because there's so much pulling power, or string follow, I should say. As soon as that you let that arrow go, that string follows those limbs and goes right towards it. Versus if you torque a string on a 35-pound bow, from experience, you can completely miss the animal. Okay, I went out and grabbed my grandfather's bow, which is a 35-pound bow, Old Bear recurve, and went out and plucked the string and shot the deer in the rear end. It was hilarious, and we still talk about it in my family to today. Every hunting season they say, "Are you going to shoot a deer in the butt today?" It gets annoying, but that's what happened, because I grabbed the bow off the shelf, pretty good shot, went out, practiced with it, got excited, plucked the string. I'm not shooting a 60-pound bow right now, I'm shooting a 35-pound bow, so my release had to be on point, and it was not. And so your shooting is going to be more critical on a low poundage bow, because there's not a lot of room for error, versus when you go to a higher poundage bow, you're going to be able to have more freedom to make mistakes, because that poundage is driving that string towards those limbs, and little can do anything about it. Okay, so you need to weigh that as well. And then number 7 is, what is the bow going to be used for? A lot of guys struggle with knowing the purpose of the bow that they're selecting. This bow right here, the Stalker stick bow that many of you know that I just got a couple months ago, its purpose is to go hunting. And so I got a 60-pound bow. I could have got a 70-pound one. But the thing is that a 60-pound bow for me is what I've always shot. And so it's like butter for me. It's what I like. It's no issues. I have no health problems. I know how to pull that string back, hit anchor, and let that arrow fly and be pretty accurate. But the thing is that I know the purpose of this bow. But if I was going out 3D shooting, I can probably go with this bow if I want to. But, you know, I might would have selected this bow to be about 45 pounds. Okay? And so it depends on what the bow is going to be used for. So we can go on and on about this. I just wanted to make sure that you had something that you could begin to have the conversation within yourself to know, should you go with a low poundage bow or a heavy poundage bow, and what some of the things that you need to start thinking about before deer season even starts, before your hunting season even starts. What are you going with this year? Are you honing in on what you want to accomplish this year and what setup you're going to be running? Because now is the time to begin to get closer to what broadhead you're going to use, what arrow you're going to use, what bow you're going to use. Okay, so you want to make sure that you begin to think of those things, and I wanted to give you a comparison video, pretty straightforward and to the point. So guys, like I said, happy Independence Day. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for being patient with me. I've had some things in my life where I'm moving and going back and forth from Texas to Indiana, Texas to Indiana. I'm actually going out to Texas here in a little bit. I got a couple things down there I need to finish up and over this holiday weekend, and I want to make sure that you know that I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and your comments. Continue to turn on your post notifications, and remember this: you don't have to get ready when you stay ready. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later.